Hello there, good evening, Africa. Welcome to this live broadcast here. We're coming to you all the way from Bonn, Germany, and this is DW Africa. We are discussing today on the elections in Kenya, and we just want to know the lessons that East Africa as a region learns from these elections or has learned from these elections as the whole world awaits for the official results to be announced. My name is Josie Mahachi.
And of course, with Josie Mahachi is with me, Jojo Kachi. And we're pleased to invite our panel who are going to help us to discuss and further this conversation. We have Joy Mdivo and Kennedy Wandera, a journalist. And maybe you could say hi to our viewers.
Hello, everybody. My name is Joy, and I'm glad to be here.
And Kennedy, you have to unmute.
Thank you so much, Josie. I'm glad to be here and look forward to a good conversation.
Okay. So, Kennedy and Joy, you are in Kenya. I'm sure you guys voted. Just tell us, what was the experience like? Would you say these particular elections were different from the past elections?
Let me start, I guess, ladies first.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So this election has been, yes, very different from previous elections. One of the ways it has been is that the role of technology has been very central to how these elections have been conducted. From voter identification to transmission of results, we have reduced the human interface between the processing of the voters and the transmission of results. And this has given us an opportunity for the first time as Kenyans.
And Joy, maybe to interrupt a little bit, Joy, we're seeing Prof. Mugambi joining us. Just for the interest of our viewers, I'll just give Prof an opportunity to introduce himself. I'm seeing himself, setting up. Prof, how are you?
Thank you so much, Josie. I'm glad to be here.
Fine, thank you. Yes. I can hear you. And I can see my friend Joy is here. So, and everybody else. So I'm happy to join you. Thank you. Good evening, Joy.
Good evening. Prof and I have been on TV and radio
You
together
just,
this week.
formed in when Joy was giving us her remarks on how she found the election process. So maybe you can just allow Joy to continue.
Okay, so I was saying that this election has been different from other elections because of technology has been front and center, or from the voter identification to the transmission. And what this has done for the first time in, I think, Kenya's history, it has given Kenyans the opportunity to interact with the results before they have been announced. And so we've been able to access, as long as you've got internet connectivity and a little bit of tech savvy, Kenyans have been able to see what the results would look like before they were even announced. And that has helped in a big way, in my opinion, to keep the temperatures and the, and the calm in the country at manageable levels. And also this is one time.
Joy, as you mentioned that, sorry to interrupt you, you say that maybe the technology has enabled Kenyans to interact with the process as it was ongoing and to somehow calm the anxiety. But somehow some people may be having a contrary opinion. And maybe at this point I'll allow Kennedy to rope in, because we saw the media being on the front line to project the results as they were, and this has sparked some sort of anxiety. Kennedy,
Yeah, obviously I know where you are headed, but it is true the media had been given an access by the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission to get a live feed and also download the forms as they come from the polling stations across the country, which is more than 46,000. But again, as we are speaking, that seems to have hit a dead end because it looks like the assignment was underestimated. But again, also comes in the aspect of verifying those particular results. The media doesn't have the authority to verify whether the forms are really authentic as they are coming from the commission, because one of the challenges that we've gone through is that some of the forms that are, especially Form 34As, that are being posted on the IBC portal, some of them seem to be having no signatures. So how are you going to tally with such kind of anomalies? So at some point, it became really difficult for the media to continue that assignment because it is tedious. But the commission is continuing with tallying the results, and we look forward to seeing the announcement of the presidential winner, contest winner, perhaps tomorrow morning or later in the day, or even Sunday, because they have to do it in 7 days.
Yes, Kennedy, we are all anxiously waiting. We are all waiting for these results. Now, Prof, you just joined us later. Before you actually tell us also what you think about this particular election, comparing them to the previous ones, could you kindly just introduce yourself for people to know you're Professor Mugambi from where and how were the elections?
Oh, pretty well. It's 8:30 in Nairobi. My name is Hezron Mugambi. I'm a professor, University of Nairobi, also political analyst here, and I've been following up with the elections before, during, and now after these elections. And as my sister Joy has said, we've been together in almost all other shows trying to analyze what is happening. And I think comparing what has happened up to date and previous elections, I can say that this is one of the most peaceful elections we've had before, during, and up to what we have now, apart from the anxiety, which is, of course, normal. People want to know, especially who is going to be the next president of Kenya in the next 5 years. So, again, another development I think I have noticed, which I think my brother Ken and I found my sister Joy talking about, is the trial which we had about the openness. Have been accused of being opaque and not allowing other stakeholders to know what was happening in the electoral process. So I think in their own wisdom, they decided that when the elections are on, the results are going to be transmitted to the National Tallying Center, and they created a portal for other stakeholders to be able to access. And I think Kennedy has just talked about that. However, although this was done, the media was able to access individuals, political parties, and other stakeholders. However, there's been a challenge because of the magnitude of the work, downloading over 36,000 forms, and clearly the authenticity wasn't very clear. And so there have been challenges from other stakeholders. And I think that is why IBC right now has taken over the job, because even when those forms are available online, the physical forms have to be brought from the constituencies across the country to the headquarters and compare the results transmitted vis-a-vis what was signed in the constituencies by the election officials and the agents for the different parties. And that is what the commission is doing right now.
Prof, sorry, pardon me to interrupt you. And I mean, we're broadcasting for a wider African audience, and they may not appreciate the processes in Kenya. And at this juncture, I would wish to invite Joy again, just to, in a layman understanding, what is the process, and could you just break it down to us for, more of an African.
Okay, I did. You are unmuted, Joy. I don't know what happened, but I mean, also like Kennedy, you can also jump in and maybe just to also help in. Okay, Kennedy, can you just unmute yourself? Because I cannot. Yeah, just some lessons also even African countries can learn from the Kenyan elections, as well as the Eastern region.
Yeah, true. Josie, you and me, and my colleague here obviously know that there are countries on the continent where before you even begin casting your ballot, the internet is shut down. Uh, and these are countries that are also border Kenya, Kenya's neighbors. But it's not just isolated to East Africa region. African governments have had a tendency of shutting down internet. I don't know what perhaps that could be, but most of them have used as an excuse of what we refer to as security issue, security matters, for instance, security threat. So they shut down the internet and then say this is a threat to the national security. But in Kenya, this has not happened, and it's good that the government has been so much insistent on ensuring that the internet is on, social media platforms are on, because there was some kind of talk on social media alleging that the government was going to shut down the internet, but the government of President Kenyatta came out and said, we are not going to shut down the internet. We are a democratic country, and we have laws that govern this particular country. And also, there's just one instance where the National Cohesion Commission had issue with Facebook, indicating that Facebook has been used as a conduit for spreading hate, and they had gone further to give a warning to Facebook that whether if they're not going to communicate within a certain period of time, then they're going to be shut down. But the Minister for ICT came out and said that the National Cohesion Commission doesn't have power to shut down Facebook. Yeah, so when you look at such kind of comments, you realize that Kenya has come of age, and they look at the public participation in any democratic process as a key cornerstone towards actualizing that particular those principles of democracy. And another thing, perhaps I can also talk about lessons that other African countries can learn. I was in Uganda covering the 2021 presidential election. In Kenya, I think is a bit more different here, like what Prof said, in terms of utilizing the technology. For instance, the second day after voting, actually a few hours after voting, the Electoral Commission was uploading the forms of the results as they are being tallied across the country for more than 6,000 polling stations. But in other countries, this goes on for more than 7 days to even see a form from a polling station. Yeah. So I think these are lessons that African countries can learn to leverage on technologies.
Are there no pros and cons to this? Because already we see that they have stopped. You see, because people are already like jumping dance, people are already celebrating, people are already saying Baba Raila Odinga is one, some are saying Ruto is one. So I think, won't you say that there are pros and cons to this?
Yeah, and
obviously.
Wandera, just hold your thought, Wandera. I would like to ask the same question my colleague Josie is asking, because these are the questions we interacting with, from even colleagues from Zimbabwe and other countries. Like, I mean, you're praising the process being fairly, digitized and very, efficient, but now everything has seemingly stalled.
No, there is nothing that has stalled. There is nothing that has stalled. There is nothing that has stalled. What is not happening, like they're uploading, as we're talking right now, when you look at the Electoral Boundaries Commission, has uploaded 99.97 of the Form 34As from all 46,000 polling stations. What has stalled, what is not moving in Kenya currently is the media publishing or the media showcasing those results as they come, as they used to do. That's why when we began this conversation, I said, perhaps the media underestimated this particular task. How do you verify the forms that are being placed on the portal when some of them are not signed? Are you going to add the results just because you want to download the form and then aggregate? It's not going to happen. So the commission continues, and as we're speaking, the same is continuing.
Joy, do you agree?
I agree to some extent, but first and foremost, 46,223 polling stations is a lot, whichever stretch of the imagination. And so for somebody to download each and every single one of them, I agree with Ken, many of the media houses underestimated their assignment, and they quickly found themselves overwhelmed. And so the speed of their tally was very slow. The accuracy of their tally was also in question. And so that raised some concerns because different media houses are different numbers. But over and above that, there is the issue of the verification. Now, when we were doing the simulation exercise with the IEBC, they told us that each KIMS kit is equipped with some security features that marry to the Form 34A. And therefore, only a Form 34A that is duly filled and authenticated can be uploaded to the KIMS kit, thus transmitted. So our assumption is anything that has found its way into the portal has met the security checks that IEBC had put in terms of authenticity. And so what they're doing in verification is looking at the hard copy and comparing with the online copy to just make sure that they're the same. And so because nobody has the ability to do that except IEBC, all of us now are stuck waiting for the IEBC. And so if I was an owner of a media house, the numbers that the IEBC is verifying now is what I'll be broadcasting. But the results from before, that assignment was just way too big. We bit off more than we could chew, I think.
Okay, Prof, now over to you. I know you voted in many elections. You can also maybe answer what we were talking about in terms of the lessons we can learn from these elections as East Africans or as Africans in general. Prof?
Yes, I think what is very clear is that there is a step forward from what we have been doing before in Kenya. And that is something which can be copied, which can be picked by regional brothers and sisters around us and the continent at large. Whether it has succeeded to what levels is not the question. The question is it has shown that we can actually leverage on our systems, digital systems, to enhance participation, to enhance openness, to enhance how we work. And I think I agree with Kennedy that this was underestimated. The task was underestimated by other stakeholders. The media wasn't ready. The infrastructure wasn't there. The technical personnel wasn't there. The time was short. And so I think looking at elections, and I have gone to other countries for elections, this was a good lesson to learn from for other electoral organizations, be it in Africa or elsewhere, that we can actually leverage. Secondly, I think in terms of the processes, and you asked a question earlier about process. In Kenya, what happens is once you vote, the votes according to the constitution and the law are tallied at that particular center. And once they have been tallied and the agents of the various parties and candidates agree and sign off the form, that is what was now being transmitted to the National Tallying Center in Nairobi. And that is what was put on a portal, a public portal, where other stakeholders could access and tally if they so wished. However, even that tally, which is electronically transmitted, is still not final because the electoral body has to verify using the physical form presented by the electoral officials.
And this is where we're getting in. Yeah, this is where we're getting in.
For nothing.
You've all enumerated that, we are embracing some sort of, level of digitization in the election process. But we are going back to the physical verification process. Do you think Africa is ready for a digital election process? Having been demonstrated by the, situation in Kenya.
Yeah, Joy Kennedy.
Anybody can jump into that.
I think we are.
Yeah?
We are the country that gave M-Pesa to the world. We have
No,
come out of
talking
the
about elections, Joy.
where we saw everything going offline.
So Joy, the unfortunate part here is all of you here are Kenyans, and I'm the only Zimbabwean.
Yes.
So please do not start showing off. We brought you center. Let's talk about elections. Do you think Africa is ready for this?
digital
Because
election
Professor
process,
is
yeah.
just saying that we're still going back to
the
the
physical.
But for that, you have to understand Kenyan's special nuances. We have an election that is designed with distrust at the center of everything. We don't believe anything we see unless we've seen 3 copies of the same thing. That's a problem, because you would have imagined that for the level of security features that we had in our ballot papers and in our transmission papers, QR codes, barcodes, and all these things, that would have trusted what is online. But here we have written in our laws that even if you see it online, wait until you see it physically before you can say, yes, that is correct. So that is the
guys.
nuance here. It's not that the technology failed, it's that the humans just don't trust each other.
Unfortunately, we're really running out of time. But before I go, my only last question to all of you as Kenyans here is, do you think Kenyans will embrace the results when they come out? Do you think they will accept, embrace, and everything will be peaceful?
Yeah,
Maybe starting with Wandera.
we hope so. We hope so. And perhaps, like Josie, on the question that you just asked, Joey, you see, depending on technology entirely, it's not sufficient, because right now as we are speaking, the commission is also battling claims of hacking. Yeah, so you cannot just entirely rely on it. There are pros and also there are disadvantages to that particular process. But whether Kenyans are going to accept this particular result, of course, each political party has its own has a right to go to court if they dispute the results, if they feel fairly perhaps they won, but they were not announced as the win of this particular race. So whether they go to court or not is their democratic right. So we still move on, because the country has to move on, and the country is, like they say, the country is more important than in these individuals. Whether they decide to go to court or they abide by the results of the electoral commission, well and good for the country.
Yeah, a quick one, Prof. What is your projection? Will Kenyans accept the final verdict?
I think I can emphatically say, without any fear of contradiction, that this is a step forward, because it offers an alternative test, and it has been tested on how we can make this faster and provide more openness and governance. So I think this was a good test, and we can now move forward and see how to make it better. On the issue of whether the stakeholders will accept or not, I think you have seen in the national tallying centers, the agents are busy verifying all the forms, and the reports which will come from there will then make the final decision whether they agree or disagree. And as Wandera said, whether they agree or disagree, they have a recourse in law, and we have seen this in 2017, and it ended up peacefully. So I have no problem whatsoever.
Okay, thank you, Prof. And Joy, quickly.
I think Kenyans will accept the result. We're just coming out of the COVID season. Many people are not doing very well economically. The prospect of electoral violence or shutdowns or more disruption is not something that is welcome at this point. Secondly, as Professor has correctly pointed out, our courts have proved that they can be robust and independent. And I think many more Kenyans have got faith that if push comes to shove and people need to go to court, the right outcome will come from the courts. And then finally, the technology is also developing, in my opinion, based on how we were able to go completely out of physical into online during COVID. I think by the next election, we will have refined our technology to a level where there'll be even less human interface, even less opportunity for interference, and possibly even faster results because of the thing. So I'm hopeful.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you to our panelists, Kennedy Wandera, journalist with Voice of America, Professor Magomba from the University of Nairobi, and Joy Diva, you're a political analyst. Thank you so much for joining us today on DW Africa. As we were discussing about elections in Kenya, we are all anxiously waiting to know who is going to lead that beautiful nation next. My name is Josie Mahachi. Until next time, have a great weekend.
And I'm Jojo Kati. We are anxiously waiting for that, result announcement by Chebukati.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.